Hey guys, and welcome back to Confessions of a Doctorholic. If you're new here, my name is Hafsa and I'm a general surgery resident, and this podcast is where I share real stories from behind the scenes inside the hospital. And today's story is a little different. It's not dramatic, there's no emergency, no chaos. But it's one of the stories that has stayed with me the most. So I was on service and we had this patient, an older woman. She didn't speak English. She was very quiet, very frail. And medically, she was actually quite sick. Her bowel wasn't functioning. She couldn't eat, she couldn't drink. She was dependent on IV nutrition. She was just there, day after day after day. And I remember walking into her room for the first time and realizing that communication was going to be difficult because there was a language barrier. And in medicine, that can sometimes create distance because you're focused on labs, imaging, plans, and it's harder to connect. It's harder to get stories from the patient, the reason why they were admitted. It's hard understanding their day-to-day, what they're struggling with. And it's even harder to connect with them and reassure them that things will be okay. And then I realized something else. She spoke Arabic, which is my second language. And the moment I spoke to her in Arabic, everything changed. Her whole face lit up. And suddenly, she wasn't just the patient in bed 12. She became someone's mum, someone's grandmother, someone who reminded me of home. And after that, I found myself going into her room more often. Not always because I had to, but because I wanted to. I could check up on her, talk to her, explain things in a way she understood, and sometimes just sit there. And I feel like the more junior you are, the less your responsibility, so you can do that. And I'm not saying that when patients don't speak English or if I can't relate with them, I don't do that. It's just harder. There's a middleman. There is stuff that's lost in translation for languages that we don't understand. So whenever I can, I'll definitely put my foot forward in that sense. And the reality was there wasn't much we could do to fix her situation. Basically, back in the day, a long time ago, she was in Jordan. And over there, she had some bowel surgery for some cancer. She mentioned that she had some sort of lymphoma. I will admit to you guys, my medical Arabic is definitely not the best. But I try my best to fit words across, and I also use a medical interpreter whenever I can. So she came in with a bowel obstruction and they took her to surgery, and by the time they looked at her bowels, everything was ischemic and she had less than 60 centimeters of bowels left. Her bowel wasn't recoverable. She was dependent on long-term nutrition and support, and her quality of life was limited. And she was on her own. I couldn't understand what brought her to the US. I couldn't understand where her family was. It was so unnerving because that is so different from how my family runs, which I know isn't the situation for everyone else. She kept saying that she came here to visit her daughter, but also her daughter lives far away and she doesn't want to disturb her. But I can't help but think in all of these moments, where is the family? I am a firm believer. I've seen they get significantly better with their families at bedside. So I couldn't help but think again and again, where is her family? And we did everything that we could. We removed the ischemic part of the bowels. So she was alive. But that wasn't the quality of life that I would have wanted for anyone. This was also conveyed to her when we did the operation. But I think sometimes it's different when you talk about it, having not seen it or experienced it, and then the patient actually going through it. And being dependent on IV nutrition isn't a way of life. Your liver can't handle it for a very long time. And people usually die later from infection. So what stayed with me wasn't the medicine in that situation. It was how much presence mattered, because for her, Having someone that just sat in her room and understood her and listened to her and communicated with the nurses on her behalf made a difference. Sometimes in medical care, it gets a lot challenging. When people don't understand, when there's that language barrier, it's harder. You have to bring a translator every single time. And we have phones and we have iPads and we do all of these things, but it's still more challenging. And that's all she wanted in that moment. She had limited understanding. She kept asking me, can I drink water? And I was like, you can have ice chips, but that's not going to feel very good. She didn't like the fact that she had an ostomy and she could see her poop coming out and how liquidy it is. Everything that she complained about was completely valid. But what made her day was that someone was just there listening to her complain, listening to her and speaking to her in her language. Someone who saw her more than just a patient and who spoke to her normally. And I kept thinking, what if she didn't have that? What if no one spoke her language? What if every interaction felt confusing or isolating? And I think this is something people outside of medicine don't always realize. Hospitals can be incredibly lonely places, even when you're surrounded by people. Because if you don't understand what's happening or you can't communicate easily, it can feel isolating. And for me, this case felt personal because she reminded me of my mum. The way she spoke, the way she asked questions, the way she just wanted someone to listen. It made me realize something. We don't just treat diseases, we treat people. And sometimes the most important thing we can give is not a procedure, it's not medication, it's just time. So confession. Sometimes the patients you remember the most aren't the ones you saved, they're the ones you connected with. So I have a question for you. Have you ever met someone, anywhere in life, who instantly reminded you of someone you love? And did it change how you behave towards them? Alrighty guys, thank you for listening, and I'll catch you next week.